There are many cultures that have a different concept of fidelity than the one most of us have. But there is one country in the world where ancestral tribes have the custom of offering their women as a gesture of gratitude. In this new video of Uncensored World, we are going to know in more detail Canada, one of the most inhospitable and cold, but at the same time beautiful and mysterious places on the planet. Canada, a place with such surprising curiosities as the one that, if you arrive at the house of an Eskimo family, the owner could offer you his own wife to spend the night with his wife. But also a region with radically opposite realities, such as that of the Amish community, one of the strangest societies on the planet, whose most incredible curiosities you will soon learn about, such as living without electricity, being forbidden to use the internet, or having a trial period called rumspringa, which allows them to observe the outside world for a few years and then decide whether or not to leave the community. A country that has the only landing strip made for UFOs, which maintains a law that allows paying taxes in exchange for seal feet, and in which there are such amazing realities as having to keep corpses in garages or basements until the arrival of summer to be able to receive burial. Do not miss this video because we assure you that everything in it will surprise you. Let's get started. Canada, although many people do not know it, is the second largest country in the world by land area and has a rich natural and cultural diversity that distinguishes it as one of the most impressive jewels of the American continent. Located in the far north of North America, Canada shares borders with the United States to the south and extends into the Arctic to the north, encompassing a variety of landscapes from majestic mountains to vast prairies, rushing rivers and endless boreal forests. Canada is known for its breathtaking natural beauty, diverse wildlife and indigenous communities that deeply enrich its history and culture. From the vibrant city of Toronto to the remote Inuit villages in the north with amazing curiosities like the one at the beginning of this video, Canada offers a unique blend of modernity and tradition, with a network of national parks and nature reserves that preserve its unique biodiversity. The climate in Canada varies considerably from region to region and from season to season. In general, the country experiences long and cold winters, especially in the northern regions, where temperatures can drop below 30 degrees Celsius. As a result, Canada has some of the coldest places in the world and places where the ice is so thick that it never thaws, causing such surprising realities as the fact that people in certain regions of northern Canada have had to store dead people in garages and cellars during the winter because it was impossible for them to dig graves to bury them. Later, we will go into detail on this and other incredible curiosities. But first, it is good to know that during the winter, the entire northern hemisphere of the country freezes, and therefore some of the coldest temperatures in history have been recorded here, reaching temperatures of more than 63 degrees Celsius below zero. In contrast, summers are short but pleasant, with temperatures that can exceed 30 degrees Celsius in southern provinces such as Ontario and British Columbia, and temper the extreme cold of the north. The name Canada comes from the Iroquois word Kanata, meaning settlement. This denomination was adopted by the European colonizers because they established different settlements in this enormous region of the planet, and later became the official name of the country when it became independent from the United Kingdom in 1867. The country is accessible by air, sea, and land, with major international airports such as Pearson International Airport in Toronto and Vancouver International Airport. Canada's geographic and cultural diversity makes it an exciting destination for travelers, adventurers, and nature lovers from around the world. Canada has an area of approximately 10 million square kilometers, large enough to house several large South American countries in its territory, such as Brazil and Mexico combined. This reality makes Canada the second largest country on the planet behind Russia. Despite its enormous size, its estimated population is only 38 million, which makes this country one of the lowest population densities in the world. With its population in mind, it is time to start talking about the Amish, one of the fastest-growing societies in this country today due to its extraordinary beliefs and customs. The Amish society was born in Europe during the 17th century as a religious movement that sought to return to a life of simplicity and faith, moving away from the practices of the established church. The life of the Amish population is governed by an order called Ordnung, which determines the behaviors of each individual who is part of the community. This code is based on parameters established by the Bible, specifically the New Testament, separating secular and religious traditions. Being of pacifist mentality, they solve all their criminal problems through an internal court, evading and ignoring completely the laws of the country in which they reside. That is another fact that makes them unique and special. Their rules are not regulated or controlled by any society and government. Over time, many Amish emigrated from Europe to North America, where they found an environment more conducive to their beliefs. Today, this community is known for its traditional lifestyle, which has been portrayed in films such as Soul Witness or The Forest, which chronicles the reality of a society far removed from the life-based society of societies such as the Amish. Decades ago, the Amish began to settle in Canada, mainly in Ontario, where their community has been growing very rapidly. One of the main curiosities of the Amish is their austere way of life, far removed from modern society. The Amish are forbidden to use electricity and modern technology to such an extent that they do not use the internet or know what social networks are, a reality that allows them to maintain a simple and community-focused life. Instead of relying on technology, the Amish use traditional methods for farming and homesteading, which helps them cultivate self-sufficiency. But it's not all about restrictions in Amish life, as their lives include the Rumspringa period, which allows young Amish to explore the outside world before making the decision to formally join the Amish society and church. The Rumspringa is a period in the adolescence of Amish youth, usually between the ages of 16 and 20, during which they are allowed to explore the world outside of their community. This time is seen as a phase of freedom in which young people can experience modern life, including the use of technology, socializing with non-Amish people, and making decisions about their future. The goal of Rumspringa is to allow young people to evaluate whether they want to join the Amish church and live by its principles. At the end of this period, many choose to be baptized and commit to Amish life, although some choose not to return to the community. A mind-boggling curiosity about Rumspringa is that if an Amish chooses to renounce his community, he breaks all ties with those who are still part of the village and even loses all contact with his family. Now, could an Amish eventually regret renouncing the community? The answer is yes. An Amish has the right to ask for a second chance to be reinstated. However, if he does so, it will be up to the village elders to decide if he is allowed to rejoin the community. The same happens when an Amish breaks a rule of conduct, such as keeping pure until marriage. In case of breaking any rule, the Amish can be kicked out of the community forever. Experiences during Rumspringa can vary widely, and it is a topic of great interest both inside and outside the Amish community. Odd as it may seem, statistics reflect that more than 90% of the Amish return to the community after the Rumspringa period. Another interesting tidbit about the Amish has to do with their early intimate relationships known as the bundling tradition. Bundling is a practice of a young couple spending the night together. Among the more conservative Amish communities, a form of courtship is still practiced that involves wrapping two young people in a bed and having them spend the night together, fully clothed and unable to touch each other. Often, a separation, such as a blanket or cushion, or even a wooden board, was placed to prevent direct physical contact. This practice allowed couples to get to know each other better in a controlled environment, often in a parent's home and with some parents nearby, which provided a form of courtship without crossing the rules of modesty, so important among the Amish, as it is always desired that both men and women arrive at marriage as virgins. Among the Amish, virginity is considered important and is related to their religious and traditional values. Thus, practices such as bundling and some other strict rules are maintained for this purpose. Despite the current growth of societies such as the Amish, which you will continue to learn about in greater detail throughout the video, Canada is a huge country with one of the lowest population densities on the planet. This reality allows for the preservation of vast and diverse natural ecosystems, making Canada a true natural paradise with landscapes ranging from the tropical rainforests of the Pacific to the Arctic tundras of the north. One of these wild wonders of Canada is that of Polar Bear Island in Churchill, Manitoba. This place is famous for polar bear sightings during the fall, attracting visitors from all over the world who wish to observe these majestic animals in their natural habitat. Canada is home to the largest population of wild bears, with approximately 15,000 of the world's 25,000 polar bears living in its territory, in addition to large populations of black bears such as grizzly and kermode. And if there is a place in the world where it is easier to observe these incredible animals, it is Churchill Polar Bear Island. Another impressive phenomenon in Canada is the one that occurs in the Bay of Fundy, known for having the highest tides in the world, a true wonder of nature that leaves visitors amazed by its power and beauty. This country contains such amazing realities as the Carcross Desert in the Yukon area, considered the smallest desert in the world, adding a unique touch to the vast diversity of Canadian landscapes. Surprising as it may seem, Canada has more lakes than the sum total of lakes in the rest of the world, with some 3 million lakes holding 20% of the planet's freshwater reserves. Among them all, Great Bear Lake is one of the largest and deepest lakes in the world, and a testament to the country's natural wealth. Canada's vast and diverse geography also includes the longest coastline in the world, totaling more than 200,000 kilometers that would take about 4 years to walk. The biodiversity and wilderness of this huge country, coupled with the fact that about 90% of Canada's land surface is completely uninhabited, helps not only nature to thrive, giving breathtaking and unspoiled landscapes, making this country an ideal destination for nature and adventure lovers, but also a place with unique traditions and realities in the world, such as those of Eskimo societies like the Inuit. Canada's indigenous tribes are commonly known around the world as Eskimo, a term that has historically been used to refer to the indigenous peoples of the Arctic. The word Eskimo is believed to come from the Algonquian term ayaka me, which translates as raw meat eater. However, this word has been considered by some to be pejorative due to its connotation and the fact that it was used by settlers to refer to the indigenous peoples of the Arctic. In an effort to reassert their identity and avoid the use of a term considered offensive, many of these peoples, especially those in Canada and Greenland, have adopted the term Inuit. Inuit is an Inuktitut word meaning the people, the person, or real people, and is considered a more respectful and accurate way to refer to these peoples and their cultures. Here is a fact that you will find surprising, because although we all think that the Inuit are inhabitants of regions like Alaska or Canada, the reality is that both you watching this video, as I am doing it, we are Inuit. An Inuit that I hope is already subscribed to our channel Uncensored World, because as you can see, here you can know the world like nowhere else. Inuit culture is an integral part of Canada's identity that makes it unique and recognizable around the world. Their traditions and beliefs have been passed down from generation to generation over the centuries. The Inuit, who are the indigenous peoples of the Arctic, have developed a deep connection to the land and the environment, as well as a set of spiritual beliefs and practices that shape their way of life. One of the most important beliefs of the Inuit is the idea that all living things are interconnected and depend on each other for survival. This holistic conception of the world is reflected in their respect for nature and in their care not to overexploit natural resources. Hunting and fishing are fundamental activities in the life of the Inuit, not only as a means of subsistence, but also as an integral part of their culture and tradition, a culture and tradition that has helped them survive in one of the cruelest places on Earth. Hunting caribou, polar bear, seal, and other wildlife provides food, fur, and other materials essential for survival in the harsh Arctic climate. For both hunting and mobility, the Inuit and other indigenous peoples of Canada make use of sled dogs. These dogs have been an important part of Canadian culture and history for centuries. In the Gold Rush era, sled dogs played a crucial role in transporting supplies and delivering mail to the most remote regions of the state. Today, these dogs remain an integral part of life in Canada. If you visit here, you can enjoy thrilling sled dog rides pulled by these amazing animals. Sled dogs include several breeds, with Siberian Huskies being one of the most common. These Huskies share similar physical traits to wolves, as both are descended from common ancestors. In addition, their team spirit and loyalty make them valuable companions for sledding, where they can travel long distances over difficult terrain. These Siberian Huskies are almost as important to Canada's culture as its own inhabitants. Returning to the Inuit, spirituality plays one of the most important roles in their lives. They practice a unique form of shamanism that focuses on connecting with the spirits of nature and the spirit world. Traditional rituals and ceremonies such as drumming and dancing are used to communicate with the spirits and seek their guidance and protection. But perhaps the most striking characteristic of those who come to this place, even more so if they are not expecting it, is that if a man contacts an Inuit family and they invite him to their home, it is very likely that the husband will offer his wife as a gift as a token of hospitality. Probably those who arrive and do not expect it, even more if they arrive in couple, not only are surprised, but it can be very difficult for them to deny this Inuit hospitality, since many of these Eskimos can take the denial as a serious offense, being able to respond in the worst of the ways. According to different books on these ethnic groups, when arriving at the home of an Eskimo family, the owner of the home may offer his own wife to the newcomer to spend the night. If the visitor does not accept, it is taken as an offense that can even be paid with death. Surprising but true, this fact. What do you think about this Inuit practice? Pause the video and leave us your comment. Doing so is the best way to help the channel, and we will love to read you, so thank you. And don't forget to leave a nice like if you're enjoying this video. This strange show of hospitality to visitors is done to anyone, as the Inuit consider it a privilege. They offer their wives, but it is usually up to them to decide whether they want to or not. Fortunately, Eskimo women are respected and valued for their ability to work, although it may seem strange to us how their partners respect their sexual freedom. The reason for this unusual hospitality seems to be that Eskimo communities are made up of a very small number of people, so these practices serve to increase the variety in their relationships and favor the perpetuation of their members. The Inuit not only lend their women to new guests, but also practice the ritual exchange of partners, although always for religious purposes, and with the knowledge of their shaman called Angakok. In Inuit culture, the Angakok is an important spiritual figure who acts as an intermediary between the human world and the spirit world. These shamans have special abilities to communicate with spirits and perform rituals and ceremonies aimed at curing illnesses, predicting the future, and protecting the community. They are respected and valued for their wisdom and knowledge of the mysteries of the spirit world, and too of the Angakok, their shaman. Shamans are very necessary in the life of the Eskimos because the Arctic is a place full of mysteries. Many Inuit legends have fascinated explorers and adventurers for centuries, a tradition of myths that explain the origin of the world, the creation of animals, and other aspects of life in the Arctic. Returning to the curiosities about the Amish, another of the most extraordinary ethnic groups in this region, anyone who thinks of them would surely know how to distinguish them at a glance, and this has much to do with their dress and living standards. In the case of the Amish women, they are very easily recognized by their dress that reflects their values of modesty and tradition, and has little to do with modern dress. Their clothing consists of long dresses with long sleeves, generally in dark colors and without flashy prints. In addition, they wear their hair long, which must be covered with a hood or scarf, symbolizing their submission to religious and family norms. The lack of jewelry is also significant, as it is considered that adornments and accessories can lead to vanity. Another unique curiosity among the women of this community is that they must cover their heads with a kind of cap and are not allowed to cut their hair. On the other hand, Amish men dress in a similarly traditional manner. Their attire usually includes dark pants, long-sleeved shirts, and a wide-brimmed hat, which is part of their cultural identity. As for the beard, this is a very curious and striking fact, since having one or not usually carries with it a very special meaning. Among the Amish, if a man is shaved, it generally indicates that he is single, while a man with a beard is married, and almost all the communities only let their beards grow after they have been baptized, since baptism is an important step in their spiritual life. Another oddity of Amish dress is the prohibition of buttons. Many Amish avoid wearing them because they associate them with militarism and modernity. Instead, they use hooks and buttonholes to close their garments. Amish women, in addition to their dress restrictions, often have fewer rights than men in the community. They must pay obeisance to their father while unmarried, and to their husband once married, reflecting a traditional approach to family dynamics. Almost all restrictions on Amish dress and behavior are deeply tied to their religious beliefs, which are based on a conservative interpretation of the Bible. These beliefs inspire them to lead a life of humility, modesty, and separation from the modern world, which they often associate with evil. The Amish community emphasizes the importance of living in accordance with the teachings of Jesus Christ, which translates into practices that reinforce obedience and respect in family relationships. This religious perspective also fosters a collective identity that is expressed in their dress and customs. For example, the prohibition of wearing jewelry and the choice of simple clothing are seen as ways to avoid vanity and materialism, elements they consider detrimental to their spirituality. In addition, dedication to community life and self-reliance are central concepts in their faith, leading them to adopt a lifestyle that rejects technology and other external influences. Thus, dress and behavioral norms are not just a matter of tradition, but an expression of their commitment to their religious beliefs and their desire to live in harmony with them. At this point, we would like to ask you, could you live among the Amish? What is the curiosity that has struck you most about their way of life? It will be great to read your opinion in the comments. So, thank you. As you have been able to see, a reality quite opposite to that of ancestral traditions such as these of the Inuit that you have known. Surely the Inuit reality and rituals may seem surprising to you, but if there is a really crazy tradition in this country, it is probably that of a law that allowed to pay taxes in exchange for seals' paws. I may sound strange, but that's the way it is. In the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, in the far east of Canada, you'll find this crazy tradition that combines history, culture, and a deep connection to the Arctic environment, the seal paw law. Newfoundland and Labrador, known for its maritime heritage and proximity to the cold waters of the North Atlantic, has seen this tradition flourish due to harsh weather conditions and challenging geography. Historically, in Newfoundland, seal hunting was a crucial activity for subsistence and the local economy. As a result, a peculiar law arose that allowed taxes to be paid with seal paws. This law not only reflects the historical importance of the sealing industry in the region, but also the adaptability and resilience of its inhabitants in the face of adverse Arctic conditions. Aside from the seal leg law, husky sledding, or dog sledding, is also common in Canada, and specifically in these regions of Newfoundland. This practice is not only a recreational activity, but also has historical and economic roots going back centuries. For decades, sled dogs, especially Siberian Huskies and Alaskan Malamutes, have been used as an essential means of transportation to travel across these snowy and rugged terrains of Canada, where other means of transportation would be impractical. Today, husky sledding not only remains a cultural and sporting tradition in Newfoundland and Labrador, but also attracts visitors from around the world who wish to experience the thrill of gliding through snowy and scenic landscapes while being guided by trained dogs. Moreover, this practice remains a living reminder of the deep connection between Canadians and their natural environment, highlighting the resilience and inherent resistance to the harsh weather conditions that have shaped Newfoundland and Labrador's history and identity. This extreme climate has such a direct and unique relationship to the lives of Canadians that it has led to realities that would seem to many to be straight out of a horror movie, such as burials in the coldest areas. In the past, in Arctic and subarctic regions, including mining and remote communities in Canada, it was challenging and even impossible to conduct burials during the winter due to frozen ground. Due to permafrost, there were areas where it was impossible to bury people, and others where the reality was even darker, since, in places like Yellowknife, Kujawak, or Manitoba, people had to keep corpses in garages or basements during the winter, waiting for the weather to improve in summer and the ground to stop being frozen to be able to proceed with burials. All this has to do with the permafrost. Permafrost is a layer of soil, rock, or sediment that remains frozen for at least 2 consecutive years. This phenomenon is mainly found in Arctic and subarctic regions, such as Canada, Alaska, Siberia, or Greenland. In the channel, we created a video that told the reality of Norway, in which it was explained how, due to this reality of permafrost, there was a Norwegian village where it was forbidden to die because this continuous layer of ice made it impossible to perform burials. In Canada, in places like the ones we mentioned, also for years they have had to resort to these actions to preserve the bodies until they are buried, although nowadays these bodies can be kept in freezers that most hospitals have, and this reality of preserving corpses in garages has become part of the history of this country. There are several types of permafrost. Continuous permafrost means that the ground remains frozen throughout the year, so there are areas where it is impossible to perform burials and you will not find any cemetery. On the other hand, in areas with discontinuous permafrost such as Yellowknife, the permafrost is interrupted by areas without permafrost depending on the time of year, and hence this ancient reality and legend of keeping bodies in garages awaiting burial. As you can see, the wild nature makes this country a unique place in the world. This reality also has to do with the fact that Canada is the 3rd country with the purest air in the world, only behind Estonia and Mauritius. A reality that has to do with the fact that more than 31% of its territory is forest, containing more than 10% of the forests of the entire planet. A space almost as immense as its border, the longest international border in the world, shared with the United States of no less than 8,891 kilometers long. A record that can also be seen in Yonge Street, which is considered the longest street in the world. This street is in Toronto and has the impressive length of 56 kilometers. A street even bigger than the strangest and most extraordinary airstrip on the planet. A reality that will surely surprise you since this runway was built so that UFOs can land. This runway is located in the town of St. Paul, in the province of Alberta. It was built in the year 1967, being the first in the world for this purpose. The town has a museum where they exhibit curiosities related to the UFO phenomenon, and what few know is whether or not any unidentified flying object has ever landed in the history of this airstrip. As you can imagine, flying to Canada is so easy that even UFOs want to land in this country. Surely this has to do with the fact that Canada is the 3rd country with the most airports in the world. Nothing more and nothing less than 1,467, only behind the United States and Brazil. So traveling to Canada by air is a fairly simple task. First, make sure you have a valid passport, and depending on your nationality, you may need a tourist visa or an electronic travel authorization. Getting to Canada is relatively easy thanks to its modern airport infrastructure and the country's large number of airports. In terms of cost of living, Canada is slightly more expensive than some US states. For example, the price of a cup of coffee in Canada is usually around $2 or $3, similar to the price in US cities such as New York or Los Angeles. Dinner at a mid-range restaurant in Canada can cost between $15 and $30 per person. Accommodation also varies, but a mid-range hotel in a Canadian city like Toronto or Vancouver can cost between $100 and $150 per night. From Uncensored World, we hope that this tour through the mysteries and curiosities of Canada has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. Thinking about it, and the effort it takes us to make these videos, we would love you to leave us a nice like and your comment. It's the best way you have to help us to keep bringing you the best content every week. If you enjoyed this video and you are not subscribed yet, don't wait any longer and do it now by activating the little bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now. Don't miss it and discover the wonders that this country has to offer.